Hi everybody. I've been making some progress on the visualization for the system dynamic for the global case study, the big one, the big network. So initially I was shown this Visio network, which is, it's great. It's also very difficult to make globally sense of this complex network unless you've had several weeks to get acquainted to the model as a visualization. This is ultimately kind of failing to give you a comprehensive, or more specifically, an understandable view of the processes, just because, okay, you can catch that the price of fossil fuel has an impact on the share of all types of energies and all that. But as soon as you zoom out, then this becomes drowned in other complexities arising from different localities in the network. Top of it, some of the way things are put together, like for example that the red arrows represent a negative kind of relationship, and the blue arrows positive. The other stuff is pretty much a bit undefined. I'm not exactly sure. The green arrows represent positive relationship, but the stuff is a bit undefined. I don't know what the gray is. I'm not sure what the blue is. And there's a confusion between colors and the types of relationships. So looking at that, I tried to do something completely different. And here is the result. So you've got this, very strange view of the network of interactions. Each node represents one of your nodes, which was previously in the Visio network. You can start by seeing that the biggest nodes are the most connected nodes. So you can also see that they belong to different patches of color. Each patch of color corresponds to one area of the nexus. So in purple on the left, these are nodes belonging to the climate nexus area. In orange-ish, these are nodes connected to energy. In brown, nodes connected to land. In green, nodes connected to in brown, node connected to food. In green, nodes connected to land. In blue, to water. And in gray, other areas, such as things like population and GDP. So when you start, you've got, do you want to have a mini tutorial in which you've got things explained, but I'm explaining things in my video, so you don't need it for the moment. But feel free to look at that later on. Now, here is what happens. So far, it's kind of confusing. It's not very useful. But once you start looking at each node, there are different types of node. The blue nodes represent, if you go into the tutorial, the blue node represents the total quantity of system relevant variables. The red nodes are factors, things that influence the blue nodes. And the pink nodes, such as this one, represent the policies and scenarios. So once you start hovering over each one of the nodes, then you start having something interesting happening, which is a detail of which other areas of the nexus these nodes are connected to. So for example, the global mean in temperature change, the global mean temperature change is connected to areas in food, in water, and in climate. If I select a very different one, this one is connected to food, climate, and the gray area, which is the population. And this one is connected to different things. Another thing is, if I go back to that, you can see the detail of interaction between that node, the global mean temperature change, and the other nodes it's linked to. So in green, you'll see that the positive relationship, so the greenhouse gas emission energy, for example, for energy production, is when it increases, it also increases the global mean temperature. So it's like a positive. When it's a green arrow, it is an amplifier. When it's red, what I've encoded is when you see this sign red with like this kind of minus thing at the end, it means that it's an inhibitor, so it gets the opposite reaction. When it increases, it actually decreases the node it's linked to. So it makes sense. When the global mean temperature increases, the crop yield decreases, and the grass yield decreases, and the available water decreases as well. So yeah, and you can just review for each single node. You can review the detail of the interaction by areas of the nexus or from whenever you want. What's interesting is you can build a picture, thematic picture, for each one of the most connected area of what's happening. Well, I'm going to stop there, and hopefully this should give you an overview of what is to come.